I grew up in Biker. A right shithole it was. My life was crap. Mum and Dad didn't give a toss about me and I didn't give a fuck about them. Spent more time on the streets with me mates than anything else. Never really learned much at school, except how to fuck about or nick stuff. I spent a lot of time doing nowt. I made some money by moving and selling tack, that's cannabis resin, for the big lads. I basically grew up fucking up and getting fucked up. The one thing that stopped us getting into too much bother, or locked up, was the local boxing gym. Not that I was much good in the ring like, too undisciplined, but I was already a pretty sharp fighter. Street fighting like, you had to be, you know? Not as good on my legs now, can't fight anymore, but I was pretty good even back then. Besides, somewhere warm to go in the winter. One lad came into the gym for a few weeks. I hadn't seen him there for a long time. I had a bit crack with him, and it turns out he was on leave from the army. He joined up a few years back. He told me that the army trains boxers. I thought, oh, aye? Maybe this was a way to get out, you know? Get away from all this shit. So I went to the recruitment centre in Newcastle and signed up. Before I knew it, I was off for basic training. It took a bit of time to get used to the discipline and the beasting, but I knew the army was for me. I got used to it, and I jumped feet first into the boxing ring. Within 2 years, I'd become the Army Boxing Association and Black Watch welterweight champion. Titles which I held right up to my first stint in Iraq. 45 wins, 4 draws, and no losses. Iraq was a fucking hell on earth. It's not something you can get a feeling for just hearing someone talk about it. It's something you have to live through to understand. A lot of guys went, and some didn't come back, and I was nearly one of them. We were heading back to our base near Basra when the patrol was hit with an IED. That's an improvised explosive device, a homemade bomb. The insurgents make them and set them next to the road to score hits on our convoys. This particular day, one hit the landy I was in. I didn't remember much, just a massive blast on me right. Next thing, I'm waking up in hospital. They told me the explosion had blown through the Land Rover door and a piece had nicked me spine. I was deaf in me right ear, still am as a matter of fact. I'm covered in glass cuts on me face and arms. I spent almost 6 months in hospital before they let me out, but they said I was lucky to be alive. Medical discharge from the army. No job, on benefits. Stuck in some shite flat in Gateshead with no mates, no money and fuck all to do every day. I can't even walk 10 yards at a time without sweating like a bastard. Everyone I used to know is either banged up, fucked up on drugs or just doesn't want to know. I went through a really tough time. I started drinking heavily. I wasn't a nice person to be around. It took us a long time to get through it. If it wasn't for my girlfriend, Shelley, I think I'd still be there. I'd probably be dead. It was her that came up with the idea of getting back into boxing, only doing training. She rang around all the local gyms and found one looking for a part-time trainer with some experience. Well, they weren't bothered that I couldn't run for England, and with all me boxing in the army, they offered me a job straight away. Now, this is what I do. Training amateur boxers. It's good because I've got the experience and I can see the lads' progress as fighters. It really makes my day when I've seen a lad I've brought on do well or win a competition. It gets us sometimes, not being able to do it myself anymore, but it keeps us fit. I've decided to get into pro boxing as a trainer. I know I've got the experience and I know I can make a go of it. I'm determined to get in and I'm gonna do it.